Hey, this is Scott from Foghat, and you're listening to the Midwest Mixtape Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to the Midwest Mixtape Podcast, live from the Barn Studio. You got the Mox here, and I'm joined online right now with a special guest. We have Scott Hall from Foghat. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
Scott Holt, not Scott Hall, the wrestler. Scott Holt. Sorry about that.
I am.
Yeah, you're coming into town this weekend. Foghat Headies, Shooting Star, Missouri, the band. A great bill at the Family Arena in St. Charles, Missouri, November 23rd at 6:30. And
Right.
looking forward to having you in town.
Man, we can't wait to get there. It's been a great year, and we're finishing it up now. And this is the last few gigs that we've got this year. So we're looking forward to coming and playing.
You've had a busy year, it sounds like.
It's been something, man. It's been one for the books for me, for sure. We put out a new record and debuted at number one. We stayed in the charts. We just went back to number 8 this week. I just found out this morning. So we've been in the charts the whole year, basically. And everybody's been real supportive of the record. Everybody's embraced it, and we just had a great time going out there and playing, and the band's playing great, and everybody's doing good, and it's just a real nice time.
Yeah, and Foghat's legacy is like coming up on 55 years or so.
Yeah.
And how does it feel to be a part, and not just a part of a band with that type of legacy, but lead vocals now? You do obviously a lot of the guitar work, and I guess maybe that's my follow-up question is like, I know you guys kind of trade off the leads. Do you consider yourself more of a rhythm player or a lead player?
I started out playing guitar, so I always consider myself a guitar player first. Singing came way late to me. In this situation, it's the job that I've got to do. So I'm predominantly the singer in this band, but guitar is my first love. It always has been. And Brian and I play so well together. We blend well together. And I just enjoy. He inspires me, and I enjoy playing with him. So it's a. And to answer your question about the 55 years and how it feels to be part of the organization, it's a tremendous responsibility. You know, there's a big history there, and a lot of a catalog of great music, and so it's on me not to mess it up.
That's a large responsibility, though, right?
Yeah, exactly.
When you're on that stage and you're singing those iconic songs and hits that everybody knows, I'm sure there's some pressure that comes with that.
Well, you know, when you go to work, I've been doing this for a while, and when you go to work, you can't afford to be nervous or scared. You have to entertain the crowd. That's your job. So I don't really pause a lot to think about, you know, what I'm doing until after the fact, you know, or on a day off or something. I might, you know, driving down the road and Slow Ride comes on, and I go, oh yeah, I sing that now. That's cool.
Yeah.
You know? But when you're on stage, your job is to entertain the crowd and make them forget about the rent and the light bill. So,
how do you find the passion and the motivation to do it? You mentioned about a career in the music industry, all these years, that, you know, decades at this point. Are you still passionate about it? Are you still able to find that motivation?
Oh man, guitar. I don't get tired of breathing, and I don't get tired of playing music. It's who I am. You know, that's one of the things I've always thought was interesting is when musicians talk about retiring. To me, that's a real strange thing, because retiring, if you worked at a plant and you retired, I can understand that. You're not going to go to the plant anymore. But as a musician, that's who you are. That's your DNA. And how do you retire from yourself? So for me, every day I get up, you know, I know there's one more lick that I haven't played yet. There's one more chord I haven't found. There's one more song in that guitar I got to pull out of it. And it's just always been a gift to me.
We talk about the 50 plus year legacy of Foghat, and you know, that spans multiple generations, from you know, baby boomers to millennials. Are you seeing that reflective in the crowd? Are you surprised to see, you know, maybe even grandparents bringing some of their grandchildren along to the shows?
Absolutely. It's the funny thing is we do a meet and greet after the shows a lot of nights. We'll do a signing, and and you get the grandparents who were there from the beginning. They're bringing their kids who are now, adults, and then they're bringing their kids who are kids, and so you get all these generations coming, and it's just it's a gratifying thing to see, and it's part of it reinforces, in my view, the strength of music and the power of music, and why we need it so much.
You mentioned driving down the road and hearing Slow Ride. Obviously, iconic song in general, but a opening riff, right? It's just instantly recognizable. It's like, Stranglehold and God of Thunder and those kinds of classic rocks. As soon as you hear it, you know what it is.
Right.
What do you think it is about that song that appealed to so many people and continues to?
Man, we've talked a lot. Roger and I have talked a lot about the catalog and Foghat, and the thing is, they're all good songs. They're solid songs, and a good song doesn't have a shelf life. It doesn't get bad over time. And so a song like Slow Ride is just as vital today and just as relevant today as it was the day it came out. Anytime you're writing a song about, girls or sex, it's going to last for a lifetime. So
that's the formula, and definitely was the formula back then, it seems like.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about Foghat's history and sort of popular culture, because it's been featured in some pretty popular movies, right? I mean, obviously, I'm a 90s kid, so Dazed and Confused was sort of my connection back to those times of
right.
My mom was in high school in the 70s, but then also like Top Gun. What's it like to see some of those songs, being represented in that way?
It's a kick, even though I didn't really have anything to do with those songs when they were written or when they came out, but I still get a thrill from it. I'll be driving down the road and Fool for the City will come on the radio, and it's like, hey, this is cool. But that goes back to the thing. They're just great songs, and they don't get old. So, just like you mentioned, your mom was in high school in the 70s and you're a 90s kid. Generations and generations, man. The music stays the same.
I know you have a deep-rooted history with blues, and I want to get into that. I've actually been biting my tongue because I just want to ask like 10 or 20 Buddy Guy questions. But I love how you guys, it almost feels like you slowed I Just Want to Make Love to You down in your live performances, almost in a very bluesy way. Was that something intentional, or was that kind of what you inherited? Were they already playing it that way, or is that some of your influence?
They were already playing it that way, or they had played it that way in the past. And when I first got in the band, it was really, for me, it was a trial by fire. I had been hanging out with Roger and the guys since about 2014, writing songs and doing some recording with them, but I wasn't a member of the band. And then we were down in Florida at their studio working on what became Sonic Mojo, but at the time we were just exploring writing songs. And the previous lead singer, Charlie, decided to retire. So they offered me the gig, and I said yes. And immediately we had to pivot from working on the record to learning the set, because we had shows coming up in 2 weeks. And I didn't really know any of the songs correctly. I know any song vaguely. I can make you think I know anything, but I had to learn them and learn the proper parts and stuff. And so with I Just Want to Make Love to You, I think that was one of the things where they were like, well, we'll give him this because we know he can get a handle on this, and it won't be a stretch for him. So,
and that style seems to be a little bit more in your wheelhouse. Your resume is incredible. You, like I mentioned, the Buddy Guy connection. You played with him for a number of years. You've shared the stage with Eric Clapton, Carlos Santana. How has those experiences, shaped your approach to Foghat or just music in general?
I'm grateful for the way my career has played out, because getting with Buddy right off the bat, I was very young and very naive, and was too naive and too green to be nervous. So I was able to overcome a lot of things that would have caught me up later in life if I'd have got that gig later. And then, meeting all those people, my heroes from my record collection. But because I was with Buddy, we would meet them as human beings, not just as big stars. So when Clapton came to a show, we were sitting backstage talking about fishing. And when Carlos came to a show, it was he would talk to us and encourage me, and they were just really, really cool people, and it was just a really a blessing to get to meet them and get to pick their brain a little bit and try to figure out how they got to where they were, and that gave me some insight. But it also kind of it took a little bit of that starstruck thing off of it. You didn't really get as starstruck because you were around those people all the time, so it helped to cut through that.
Being around those guitar heroes and legends of the past, some people would say. What are some modern guitar players that there's the John Mayer and the Guy Clark. Are there any modern players that you really dig on and that you think they sort of do it the right way?
There's lots of them. I mean, I think there's new music coming out all the time, and the thing is, there's so much of it now, it's hard to keep track of. Kingfish, the guitar player, blues guitar player, I think he's great. Samantha Fish is fantastic. We saw her, my wife and I saw her not too long ago. And but the thing is, music's just got to keep going, and it can't turn into some sort of plastic, like it is right now. Everybody's kind of got it in this disposable thing where, nobody pays for it. Nobody really cares, what happens with it. It's a very valuable commodity in humanity. I mean, it's the closest thing we've got to a time machine for sure. But it's very important to us culturally and spiritually, I think.
I see your record collection back there. Mine's just off camera this way. If anybody was digging through that, what would they be surprised to find? Maybe a genre or a couple artists that you think the people would be surprised that's in your collection?
Surprised to find? I don't know. People that know me wouldn't be surprised by any of it. Somebody that knows of my blues background might be surprised to find there's a lot of punk records back there. There's some movie soundtracks. I love music. I think music is just this amazing thing, and it can transcend all boundaries. It can take you on any kind of trip you want to go on. And so I'm always listening for the newest, most exciting, what's different now? What can I hear now that's going to change things,
I like to fancy myself a guitar player, although I think some people would probably laugh at that. But I was looking up at your setup, and it seems very rock and roll and very basic. It's a JCM 800, through a Marshall cab. Is that pretty much what it is for you?
Yeah, pretty much. This is in this situation it's all fly dates, so we don't take our own gear. So you have to kind of figure out a way to deal with rental gear, and then I take a small pedal board because it's rock and roll. You don't need a lot of stuff. Keith Richards said he didn't want to be a dancer, so you just as long as you're playing, if you can't make it sound good between you and the guitar and the amp, then the pedals aren't going to help.
I've mentioned this in other interviews, and I've heard this isn't an original thought by any means, but the playing is in the fingertips. I can hear people cover different songs, or maybe cover an Eddie Van Halen song, and you can tell that it's Eruption or whatever it is, but it doesn't have the same feel. How much of playing and sound, and even just how it sounds, is in the fingertips and in the player?
I think it's all there. I think you try to you want to get that direct shot from the heart to the ear. That's the goal. And the less stuff you can put in between that, the better you are. I spent a lot of years when I first started playing trying to sound like Jimi Hendrix, and then one day realized I was never going to sound like Jimi Hendrix, and then eventually realized that I sounded like me, for better or worse. And just like you sound like you. You know, I could never sound like you, and you couldn't sound like me because it's our fingerprints, it's our background, it's what you had for lunch, it's your DNA, it's all the things that wrap around you. That's why music is so amazing to me, is because it's influenced by everything in your life.
Scott Holt from Foghat, the Family Arena, St. Charles, Missouri, November 23rd at 6:30 p.m. Great bill here. Head East, Shooting Star, Missouri. How's it been? I know you've played some dates with those guys as well. How's that been?
It's been great, man. We've had a ball with those guys, and I'm looking forward to seeing them. And it's just going to be a great time. Everybody should come out and just be ready to have a good time.
Foghat, November 23rd at 6:30 at the Family Arena in St. Charles. Scott, so thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate the conversation.
You got it, man. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Bye-bye.